talking. So that was just the actual interaction was kind of what I dug the most.
But was it everything you expected and more though?
You know, I have pretty low expectations. I've been married a long time.
Okay.
So does my girlfriend.
I'm easily satisfied.
Just side-eye to everyone that was there. Yeah, you were great based on my low expectations. If I had high expectations, this would have been trash.
It doesn't get better than that. That's so good. Oh man. And with that, friends, we are live. What's up, everybody? It's the Open Bar. One half of the hosting squad here at the Open Bar. It's your boy J Mike. Obviously, you see that. Obviously, if you're with us in the YouTube chat here, you see that the normal host, the normal person that gets us kicked off, Mr. Gabe Gearing, at FF Man Bun on Twitter, is currently living that vacay life, living it up with his family, chopping it up with the ones that he loves for Thanksgiving. And so here we are, doing the best that we can. The bar's open. We're going to have a good time regardless. And joining me in the bar today, we might as well get started with you, Dennis, because apparently we're not enough for you. So hopefully maybe our viewers will be enough for you. The culture coach in the building. Dennis, what's cracking?
What do you mean you're not enough? I came back for seconds.
That you did.
It didn't even take a week. You know? I saw your posting. I thought, oh, they must be desperate. They're looking for anybody. I can meet that need.
That explains some things.
That's what's up. Appreciate you joining with us, Dennis. The Svoboda. Chris,
Hey,
what's cracking?
How's it going? Good to be here.
Very good. What is your favorite Thanksgiving side so everybody knows what's up with you?
Oh, side. Oh, on the spot right now.
Yes.
I got two. Green bean casserole and then the fake cranberry sauce from the can.
Very from the can, not the good stuff. Not the
right from the can. You know, the jelly cranberry sauce, the good stuff. Not that any of that real organic crap.
Very good. If you say so. If you say so.
Stovetop and Kraft macaroni and cheese too. Damn it.
Let's go. Another frequenter of the bar, the one, the only Peter Howard. Pa howdy. What's cracking, man?
Not much, man. Just, trying to fill in all the Jakely duties that he's left behind since he's run off to have fun with his family, as if that matters. So I grabbed the nearest baseball cap, and here I am. I'm Jake tonight. So, Rashad Penny like sucks. That's basically all he says, right? That's really it. I'm just here to fill in that role.
I love how that's the only Jake impression that you have.
Yeah, basically that's Jake. Just Rashad Penny, no good.
That's great. Good.
So, Peter, your favorite Thanksgiving side?
I don't celebrate Thanksgiving. It's just like Thursday to me.
So, okay. So, what is your favorite thing on Thursday of Thanksgiving?
I really love Thanksgiving. It's a holiday I didn't grow up with, so it's like an extra holiday I didn't expect. So, yeah, I love Thanksgiving. I like all the food. My wife makes a really mean set of sides. I really like her corn casserole. It's probably my favorite.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Yeah, she kills it. She kills all of it, though.
Very good. Very good. Very good. We've got the menu at our house is going to be insane. My wife, she's big on hosting. She's big on having people over, and she's definitely big on Thanksgiving. Shout out to you, Tyler Gunther. I see you with the green bean casserole in the chat there. I like that. That's definitely a good option. Here's the thing with Thanksgiving for me. It's the way it all comes together that makes me so happy. It's the way that like everything, I don't know, there's something about everything on your plate kind of falling into each other, and it almost makes its own side into itself, just a hodgepodge side. I don't know. I love it. You guys aren't feeling it, but that's okay.
No, you're weird, Jay Mike. No one does that. Everyone keeps it separate. It's just you.
Yeah, most we can't.
It's like the plates for your kids.
No, that's why you get mashed potatoes, isn't it? So you can glue it all together. And eat it. That's their function.
The gravy runs into all of it. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, right. It's going to be so good. Last but not least, in the bar, we may or may not hear from. We'll see how this goes here in a second. We've got the Sam Lane FF at FF Stompy on Twitter. He's going to be able to check in with us. He's kind of in and out at the moment, but he'll be joining us as well. Sam, any kind words for the people?
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
Dynamite drop in. There we go.
Sam says Julio Jones sucks. That's what he just typed in the private chat over here. He says, can't stand the man. Terrible. Never play him. Trade him for a second. That's a little far, Sam. Don't trade him for seconds. Like
you are the worst slanderer of people.
I truth teller. That's all I do.
Well, fellas, week 11's in the books, and what needs to happen. Obviously, you've got your playoff pushes. Before we went live, Chris was talking about leagues that he's in and what's going on. How exactly what's your process for getting to the playoffs? Like, what are you doing at this point to make sure your roster is ready to contend to the best of its ability?
Well, in some cases, it's to the point where you can't, because trade deadlines are coming up and/or have passed. So you got to watch for that.
You know, I'm looking at those bottom 3 teams, trying to see if there's anybody I can get off there. You know, they're not contending anyways. Maybe I can take one of their studs to bolster my run for it. Or if I'm a bottom 3 team, I'm contacting the top 3 and saying, you know, give me those picks, give me those young guys, take this veteran.
But what's the I guess my question would be, even when obviously if you don't have a trade deadline at this point, that's fantastic. But the question, so a lot of leagues I know have trade deadlines that have already passed, but we've got 2 weeks in most leagues. Most people go through week 13. What are you looking at doing? So you're making your push, obviously, which is great, and you're making your moves to try to get your roster together. Is there anything else that like I know for me anyway? I don't do a very good job of hitting the waivers very well, but I feel like that's really important right now, because not only is that something that it helps my team out, but it's blocking other contenders from getting those players on their teams as well. I feel like one of the few leagues that I'm contending in, Chris, it's your Degenerates League. I've got a pretty good team there, and like I've got just duct tape and giggles for running backs.
What are you talking about? You got all day.
Yeah, finally, I'm glad he decided to play all day this week. It was great. it was a struggle, but I guess it just scares me going into the playoffs, because especially for teams that are contending, I want to do well, and if I don't do well, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself.
What's the love you do, Mike?
Appreciate that. Peter, what's your process going into the playoffs?
Just win. That's all I do. Rashad Penny sucks, and I just keep winning.
Sam's here.
Yeah.
Sorry,
just stomping all over Peter. Stompy.
Yeah, seriously, dude. I had a whole thing going there. Just. Now, I think you're right, J-Mac. It's the waivers, especially if you cross the trade barrier, then you have to think of the waivers. One thing that I might go and look for is anyone with draft capital in the top 3 rounds. A lot of those players get cut, especially as people make pushes because they're useless and they need the roster space to roster. I know Houston's 3rd tight end because they keep throwing to him, and you might hit that lottery touchdown. But if you're not contending, especially, then you can go. Hell, even Philip Dorsett, Laquan Treadwell, Josh Doxson, hopefully at this point. Some of them have hit the waiver wire because they should. And it's not because they're good and I'm hoping to play them next year. It's because at some point this off season, some person that we should be really grateful for and yet disagree with thoroughly is going to talk about how they're going to break out next year finally, and they'll pick up more value, and you can trade them for something. So that's one thing that might not be as mentioned because it's kind of not ethical trade. You don't want them, but you know their value is probably going to go up at some point. It's a similar game we've been playing with Josh Gordon for a while, although he finally hit again. But yeah, each waiver wire in each league's different, but those are some players that might be on a lot of waiver wires as people make pushes and try and find room for players that are actually scoring points. And if you're not contending, that's one thing that I might go and look for. And not just wide receivers either. There's some running backs and tight ends that fit that bill as well. It's also when I start looking at the tight ends that haven't hit in the last 3 years that people used to like because they're more likely to hit next year. So this is when you pick up Austin Hooper before this season, if you know what I mean.
I was going to say, I thought he hit.
That's the thing, though. You could get him for almost nothing this time last year if Trade Barry hadn't passed, or if he'd hit the waiver wire as people make pushes and they were disappointed when he was actually more likely to hit this year than any other year, because people play that wrong. And so Adam Shaheen finally came back, but then I think got injured again, or at least he didn't do anything. And so maybe you can find him in some leagues, depending on how shallow they are. And he's more interesting now that he's been in the league an extra year.
Good. That's all good. Sam, we've jumped into. Well, first of all, welcome to the bar, sir.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Welcome back from your worldwide tour that you've been on of late. What's your process as you get your rosters ready for this stretch run in your playoff leagues?
I guess for me, I think it's pretty normal just looking at like those guys, I guess the teams that are kind of middle of the pack that maybe they could use some help getting better so they could get into the playoffs and be better in the playoffs. But also you can pick up a guy that will help you down the stretch into the playoffs, get into maybe pick up that smaller piece that would help launch you into a championship contention. So I'm always looking at those more middle of the pack guys that are more willing to trade, especially in Dynasty. I know a lot of guys right now I'm trying to work a trade with a guy at the bottom of the standings that I'm trying to get another running back, whether it be DJ or Aaron Jones, and he's just not budging. And I don't know how much I would expect him to, just because he needs to build, and those are younger guys that or guys that he can build around. So, but like those guys that are in the middle of the pack, those 4 and 6, 5 and 5 teams that may have one piece that will help them or need that one piece that will help them into the playoffs, they'll be more willing to trade like a piece for you that you need. So that's where I'm looking most of the time, is in those trades.
I like that. I like that a lot because it feels like when you try to talk to, at least in some instances, when you try to talk to some of these teams that are lower in the standings, they're trying to extract every single bit of value that they can out of you, which it's hard to blame them. It's hard to blame them for that, but
yeah,
at the same,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, go for it.
I was just going to call it's the production premium that they try to put on there for the upper teams, and some teams are still for some reason delirious, like they have a shot in the playoffs or something, and it'll be right until. And maybe even in the playoffs, they'll realize, man, I'm not in the playoffs. Maybe
I hate those teams. It's like we could help each other out here in a serious way, and you won't do it because you think even though you're like last in points per game in the league, you've got a shot. Right. So let's build a dynasty, man. Come on, me and you together. No, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna win.
Team for 6 weeks for a player, and he's like, I'm not ready to sell. I'm not ready to sell.
I have a shot.
Passed. And he hit me with a message, I'm ready to sell. I was like, it's too late.
Yeah. Damn it.
It's too late.
We could have done wonderful things together, and you just screwed it up. You've missed the window.
I knew you were out for 6 weeks, and it's over, man.
So how about this? So that guy that I'm trying to trade, he wants a 2019 first, which will likely be late, but Kenny Golladay as well for Aaron Jones. Is that crazy or?
I love Aaron Jones, but that's crazy.
He wants a first and Golladay for Aaron Jones.
Yep. Golladay for Jones is fair.
No. I love Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is worth it, but you're talking about a running back for a wide receiver in Dynasty. The guy's dreaming.
I agree. And I'd be willing to move somebody like Robert Woods for Jones, just because I think Robert Woods is an unrestricted free agent next season, right?
That's a good question. I'll check.
Aren't you running for down the stretch though? Robert Woods down the stretch is nice.
Yeah, and I think it depends on. So the rosters on or not the rosters, but starting lineups it's two running backs, 2 wide receivers, and 1 flex. And really, I could work with the 2 or the 3 wide receivers, and that's fine. But I also have a lot of young wide receivers, and it might not be the right time to trade. But if I can get Aaron Jones down the stretch, I'd feel pretty good about everything.
Well, where's Golladay in your tier of wide receivers? Is he your 3, 4, 5?
2.
Uh-huh.
You can't do it.
So I'd be like Juju, Robert Woods, Golladay are kind of my top 3 there.
And when you brought up Robert Woods, just to give you a quick heads up, he signed a 5-year, $34 million contract with them, so he's under contract through 2021.
Okay.
Yeah, through 2021, and it doesn't really look like they have any outs for it either. Nothing crazy anyway. But yeah, Robert Woods, golly, he's been so good. Speaking of Robert Woods, guys, where were you when we got the game of our lives, the Monday night affair that was just the most amazing thing that I've ever seen in my life? Where were you? What were you doing? It's something you can tell your grandchildren about one day.
I'm sitting in my recliner eating a hamburger.
It's going to be pretty boring stories. I was sitting on my couch watching football.
It was epic. It was absolutely epic. Obviously they go, the Chiefs and the Rams, they go over 100 points combined, and the worst fantasy player of all time, Todd Gurley, was just crap for your roster. Are you guys selling Todd?
Don't matter.
Running backs don't matter. I sell Todd Gurley everywhere. No, but seriously, just in the grand scheme of things, just thoughts on the game, thoughts on the production. Did anything that happened either over the weekend, specifically in that game, or overall, what caught your eye?
Well, it was incredible stuff. Just watching last night, I was tired afterwards, just from watching. I can only imagine how those guys felt. It was good stuff, man. Really great game. It should end all running back MVP conversations from now till the end of time.
That game had everything. As high scoring as it was, there was defense too. And I think Aaron Donald cemented his, I guess, being the best defensive player in the league.
What about Ecobomb? That guy was nuts.
Yeah. He had 2 touchdowns. Is that right?
Yeah, he's playing like a man possessed.
Before say fumble recovery for a score, interception for a score, sacks. I mean, he was literally doing it all.
And he's like their 4th pass rusher, something like that. Buried on the depth chart.
Is in any way, can we start talking about Tyreek Hill as the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty?
The overall wide receiver 1?
The overall.
No.
I don't know if we're there yet.
Okay. Wide receiver 1. We're going to have the conversation.
Yeah, I was saying, can we have that can we have the conversation? Are we getting there? Because he's literally the most unique weapon I feel like that there is right now. And
I think deniers have to listen to it at least. and make a case against it now. Before, you could just kind of brush it off and say, oh, he's just fast or, you know, whatnot. But now you have to literally say, well, he could be, and argue back against it. You can't just dismiss it.
Yeah.
I think paired with Patrick Mahomes, who, if John Hogue is listening, is the #1 Superflex dynasty asset.
No, he's not.
Oh, we're gonna have a fight. We're gonna have a fight on the open bar.
Bring it, Sam. Bring it.
But
There's my bottle.
I think definitely when you pair him, because he's in his 3rd season, right? So paired with Patrick Mahomes, I think it's definitely in the conversation. I mean, I still think DeAndre Hopkins probably with Deshaun Watson is still your wide receiver 1, but I think you can still talk about Tyreek being up there.
I want to hear Peter talk because he's got good stuff here. He's just waiting.
He's gonna
I'm busy.
No waiting, Peter. Just do it. Do it.
No, I was no to all of that. Hopkins isn't the one. Tyreek Hill definitely. Let me clarify. Are we talking about Tyreek Hill, the wide receiver 1 overall in Dynasty?
Yes.
No, quit. All of you quit. That's no. Maybe I'm weird on wide receivers, but I value like Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham. Still, these guys not doing it for anyone anymore.
Oh, hey, like I'm to it. But is he not?
No, a wide receiver 1, surely, yeah. But his touchdown rate's through the roof. He's more likely to score less touchdowns next year, which is going to be a value decrease and nothing else. He's unique. He's talented. I'm definitely off the he'll never do it train since he's done it three times now. So he's a wide receiver 1 for sure, I think. But to put him in that elite over Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham tier, I think that's too far. That's way too far for me.
What do you need
for what
to get even in that tier?
To be in the Antonio Brown tier, well, you have to be in the top 5. How about that? Can he finish in the top 5 more than once?
I don't know what he is right now. Somebody look it up. PPR.
Can he be the wide receiver 1 3 years in a row and in the top 5 for like 10, 20, 30 years as Antonio Brown up to 30 years? He's just like,
what in the world?
I mean, come on. And Antonio and Odell Beckham, I mean, he should be. I've got a lot of names above Tyreek Hill. I mean, Odell Beckham's fighting through an Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, like last year Peyton Manning type season. And suddenly he's below Tyreek Hill, who's doing it through a touchdown rate that's so unsustainable. I mean, no. I don't know what. Why would you subjugate yourself to something that's most definitely not going to work out for you next year?
Well, let me just throw this out because we said we'd look it up, and you can continue on your point there, Peter. But right now, in points per game, fantasy points per game in PPR for the 2018 season, Tyreek Hill is 3rd. So he's only behind Michael Thomas and Adam Thielen. He's got less.
Adam Thielen and sorry, carry on.
Yeah. So Michael Thomas and Adam Thielen. And I'm not saying he necessarily should be wide receiver 1. I just feel like when we're having this conversation typically about who's the best, and I wanna get to Mahomes here in a minute because I'm curious to your thoughts on this too. But when we have this discussion, so Tyreek Hill's currently 3rd, like I said. He has less targets than Antonio Brown. He's got 3 more catches than Antonio Brown. He's got more yards and the same number of touchdowns as Antonio Brown. And I understand your consistency argument. Like, that makes all the sense in the world. I get it, right? So don't, please, I hear you. I'm going to say this. You're going to pretend like I didn't say any of it. I didn't preface any of it. Yeah, you're gonna lie and twist my words. Yeah, you're gonna lie and twist my words. I know you will. This is how this happens. But I'm just saying, I just find it interesting that he's doing some things right now that I feel like very few can do. So I think he's got to be up in the conversation, or Maybe he doesn't have to be for you, Peter, obviously, but
no, I mean, what's he doing right now that you don't think Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, or anyone else can do? Like an unsustainable touchdown rate. That's not something I want to like use to push him above everyone else. He's great. He's doing great things. He's a very valuable wide receiver, but I don't see any reason to push him above players that have done it without having to like catch so many more touchdowns than is possible based on his just the number of catches he has or anything else. I don't see a reason to push him that high unless you just enjoy, being wrong, like like a quick turnaround. I'm gonna get things wrong anyway, so let's just do it quickly. Like he's gonna be a wide receiver one. Completely agree. He's not better than Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham, or even DeAndre Hopkins.
Okay,
I mean, he's just not. He hasn't performed at the level. He hasn't done it as much. He's doing it with unsustainable production, and therefore his numbers right now look higher than they will be over his career arc. Whereas Odell Beckham, Antonio Brown, DeAndre Hopkins' production is sustainable, so they will stay at the level they're currently at, and he is in the mix with them. So his is likely to drop, and theirs is likely to continue to sustain. So why would he be over them? I mean, by the same logic, Adam Thielen and Michael Thomas should be the wide receiver ones, and he should be the wide receiver 3. So even using that same logic, he shouldn't be the wide receiver 1. And I wouldn't push either of those two above those 3 in that tier. I would put Thielen right next to Thomas, though. I think not anyone, I'm getting way too negative here, but for me, I think Thielen and Thomas offer the exact same. They're doing the same thing. They're doing and they're being phenomenal in the same way. And so I think they should be back to back in wide receiver rankings, and that's where I have them. But they're below those top 3, 4, and the Julio Jones for me is still above these the Tyreek Hill tier as well.
Sam, what were you saying? What were you about to say?
Well, I guess my thing is how do we define sustainability at this point? Because now, I mean, he was tight end. He was wide receiver 7 last season. He's wide receiver 3 this season. So at what point do we say, okay, maybe we are seeing something that hasn't been done before, but he can continue to do? I mean, he's been doing this for 3 years now. I mean, the touchdown rate he's been doing for 3 years now.
Yeah, I guess that was going to be my other question too. And Peter, you can keep going, obviously, but
I keep blabbering on and saying the same thing. I didn't mean there was more. Carry on.
No, because I guess like Sam said, just when I look at it, and again, I'm open to being educated because I don't look at it the same way that others do, and I'm open to having my mind changed or whatever. But like you said, when it comes to when you say sustainable, I guess my question is, okay, Antonio Brown's done it or is doing, like he's at 11 touchdowns. Like, is that unsustainable or is it based off of his track record? And do we just not have a track record of Tyreek Hill doing it for long enough?
No,
I just help me understand.
With the Antonio Brown history thing, you just keep valuing the guy who's one of the only wide receivers to have had that level of production. The one we're so in awe of on Tyreek Hill that Antonio Brown's doing again this year. For consistent year-over-year production. He's just one of few wide receivers that do that. Odell Beckham is in that tier. Julio Jones is in that tier. Tyreek Hill could be if he keeps doing it for another 5 years. Well, another 2 years to make it 5 years. But as far as unsustainable touchdown rate, what I mean is he's catching too many touchdowns for the number of catches he's having. Simply put, his efficiency is too high to sustain, and touchdown rate always comes back to the norm. I mean, Julio Jones is the most extreme outlier in that, and it took like a year and a half, but he's now had back-to-back touchdowns in order to see that touchdown rate regress. So even in the most extreme case, recently, it's coming back into the norm. If you look back through 10 years, like I've done it, and I think you can do it back through forever, touchdown rate always regresses back to a mean. Now, his might be higher than most because he's good and he's a focus point of the offense. So he's going to have a higher touchdown rate, as in number of touchdowns per catches, than, say, you know, Cole Beasley, obviously. But it's not going to be a 20% touchdown rate in his career. You just can't do that. Not because it's something innate about him. It's just that number. That's what I mean by unsustainable. It's not like I'm using it in a mathematical sense. You simply can't catch a 20% touchdown rate for your entire career. It's always going to come back closer to the norm. The average is around 7%, for example. Just as an example of how extreme the touchdown rate in Kansas City is right now. And I love Patrick Mahomes, and I definitely think Tyreek Hill is a wide receiver one. I'm putting him in that top tier. It's just if you're going to bet on who's going to be more productive wide receivers year over year, you take the guys who have done it, because historically that's what happens. Now, it's not that he's not going to be a wide receiver one at all. I'm saying he's going to be a wide receiver one, but he's more likely. They are more likely to be wide receiver ones. And we're talking about an elite tier here. I mean, we're passing, like, what do you want, this gold bar or that gold bar? I just want the one that doesn't have a slight crack in it, like a touchdown rate, which is going to regress as a team. And also Tyreek Hill as a player, it's going to regress at some point. If nothing else, the value is going to come down a little bit when that happens. And since that touchdown rate is so extreme, it's probably going to happen sooner rather than later. So you're looking, that's what I mean about being wrong quicker, in that that value is probably going to drop off quickly. I'm with you. Does that make my point a little better?
I'm with you.
He's good. He's good. He's definitely good. But
2013 about Antonio Brown?
No, his touchdown rate wasn't in the 20%. And yeah, you could have, but there was no one like Antonio Brown at that time that you could say, here's the guy who's been doing it for 5 years. He's doing it this year, and so we should value him the same way next year.
I hear what you're saying. You're giving him his props. You're just saying there's better right now. And I hear you, and I understand that. He's not in my top tier. I said that, and I'm a huge Tyreek guy. He's just not quite in that top tier. And I think his touchdown rate will be a little higher than normal, maybe the average, just from the way he plays. He's a big play guy.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, some players have a higher touchdown rate.
And I have no problem building a team around him. But you're right. I still take the Hopkins.
Sorry, maybe this will get to it better for me, why I'm so confused. Why would you want to put him higher? Like, do you honestly expect him to outproduce Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham to such a high degree that you want him hands down no matter what you have to pay over those two? I don't. I think it's going to be comparable. In this tier, you're getting great production. I think Tyreek Hill is going to be a little more up and down just based on the nature of his game and that touchdown rate.
Right.
So why would you want him over those two? Like, what's the big value in having Tyreek Hill? And if anyone says age, that's great, because I actually have a coherent point to make about that one.
Age.
Okay. Bullcrap.
I think and I'm not saying I do like.
You just argue that Tyreek Hill's age is better than Odell Beckham's. Are we really going there?
No, I'm not.
Or DeAndre Hopkins?
He did that to trigger you, Peter.
Yes,
he is succeeding. I've got my Jake hat on. This is meant to be my Jake episode. Damn it.
I think, and I don't. I think it's more a conversation just because with Patrick Mahomes and Hill's usage, because his usage is up this year. I mean, he's projected for the most targets he's had in his career. Obviously, he only had 107 last year, and he's projected for around 140. Now, I'm not saying that, and I think Odell Beckham. Well, I think you're right. You have about 4 up on that top tier. That's Odell Beckham, DeAndre Hopkins, Antonio Brown, and Julio. But with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid's mind, I think you can make the case for Tyreek as the 5th option behind those 4. And as
I'd be fine with that.
Okay. And this is obviously, I think, assuming that
really close.
Right. And I think this is assuming like in 2 to 3 years when with Patrick Mahomes at the helm there, that you're going to see this same production. And you have a valid point that his touchdown rate is astronomical right now, and it's very hard to sustain. I mean, point taken. But at the same time, like, if he's still going to be able to get that 1,400 yards and double-digit touchdowns for the next 3 years, I think he's got to be in that conversation as the wide receiver 1. Now, I'm not saying right now, and maybe it's a conversation where it's like, okay, he's in that elite tier of wide receivers. Maybe not, because I think we all have wide receivers that we like over the others. Antonio Brown being 1 overall, OBJ being 1 overall, what have you. But I think, yeah, you at some point you got to ask, is Tyreek Hill part of that elite tier?
Yeah, and I think I think, Peter, more than anything, that was the impotence behind just the question, and I love everyone's perspective. That was really that was exactly what I hoped for. That was exactly what I hoped for. We're
just trying to give you what you need, J Mike. That's mostly our purpose. Like, we live for that. We're all just, let's get J Mike what he needs.
Not about what I want, but about what I need. I love it.
We'll give you what you want too, J Mike. You just ask. We'll get it.
Now I wanna bring this back too. So let's talk quarterbacks, and I need everyone's opinion here. So if we rewind the clock a year ago, we're having the conversation, and I remember earmarking all these different articles that was asking, and even in the offseason that was asking, is Carson Wentz QB1 above Aaron Rodgers? Okay. Now, Chris, I know that you were a part of these same conversations in circles that I was a part of when we talked through these things.
I remember.
All right, now here we are, week 12 upon us. 2018 is obviously Mahomes has done what he's done. Jared Goff has done what he's done. Aaron Rodgers isn't dead yet. Eli Manning may as well be, but apparently no. What are we doing with, and I don't know if this will be as much fun of a discussion.
We're going to have the same conversation about quarterbacks.
No,
now. We're just going to roll it out.
No,
it's just the not let Pete have fun episode. I get it, Jay Mike. Man, let's do it.
I just need us. I just want to discuss. So if we're talking, and we don't even have to say with number 1, but let's just say top 3 quarterbacks in Dynasty that you want on your team or that you're ranking right now. Top 3. Like who are your top 3? Do what?
Yeah, that's not as fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm a buzzkill. I'm sorry.
I want Peter to go first, though. I want to hear it.
Let's hear it, Peter.
Where are we? Is Patrick Mahomes the QB1 in Dynasty? Is that the question, basically?
No. I just want to know, because I feel like we're so far removed from a year ago when we were warning. We as I'm just saying, as a Dynasty community collective. I know this isn't everyone's opinion, but there was a giant drumbeat that Carson Wentz, even right after he got hurt, was going to be QB1 in Dynasty. And I'm not saying – say it again?
Deshaun Watson as well, right?
Yeah, and Watson. Watson had the 5 games or whatever it was, and he was fantastic in those. But like that's what was going on toward the end of the season, in the off season, and even as we went into the preseason. So I'm just trying to get a heat check. How do we find sustainability in the consistency of quarterbacks, I guess? I don't mean to stump everyone with my
no. I already said, you've got Antonio Brown with Aaron Rodgers. You've got Odell Beckham with Andrew Luck. You've got, I mean, it's the same thing. Yeah, it's not that Patrick Mahomes is obviously an elite tier quarterback. It's just that his points per game is likely to come slightly closer to what theirs are, which will create a value drop if nothing else. Like last year, I pushed Watson and Wentz outside my top 12 to make the point. I'm not doing that with Patrick Mahomes because I'm not suicidal. And but I have him at 6 because he's definitely in that top 5. But I expect something of a disappointment at some point, which I think means his dynasty value will drop rather than raise. It's got nowhere to raise. Let's face it.
Right.
And so I'm going to keep Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck, Cam Newton, and Russell Wilson ahead of him, and Drew Brees because he's just fun. But I get that he shouldn't be there in Dynasty for most people. I get that. But that's what pushes Mahomes to 6 for me, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, if you have him in your top 5 and your top 1, you're not wrong. I just think eventually the value of it is going to change and people are going to say you're wrong, at which point we all run out and buy Patrick Mahomes because that'll be stupid. Because he definitely belongs there. Yeah, I think I've basically said what I'm going to say, and I said it calmly, I think, J. Mike.
I don't think the regression season coming from Mahomes will drop his value that much, though.
Well, we've seen when Patrick Mahomes regresses, he does it in a way that scores you 50 fantasy points. Right.
Right.
It's fine. It just runs for touchdowns instead.
This value drop, I don't think is going to be so stark. He's in my top 3, but I was pleasantly surprised to see Andrew Luck up there for you. I don't see that a whole lot.
He was there for me all last season because doctors said he was healthy again, and people that weren't doctors said he wasn't, and I just sided with the doctors. It was like the easiest thing ever.
That's fair, but and we don't talk that much, but I don't remember that many doctors' notes in the off season. I think everybody's just waiting to see something, and then
that's true. That's fair. I was mostly thinking early this season, but I had him up there just based on his talent and the hope that he would come back healthy.
Yeah,
and then early this season, doctors said he's healthy, and
asking recently, for some people, is he back to where he was for you guys before? And a lot of people still said no, which I thought was just insane. I think he's got to be top 3 again, even if he wasn't while he was hurt. He's got to be now. I mean, the game is stringing together.
That's a really good point, Sam. That actually says what I was trying to say better. The reason I put Andrew Luck in my top, if you're gonna take a bet that someone is a top 5 player, in your ranks or in your dynasty value, you take the guy who has the talent, who isn't valued there. That's the guy I'm going to push into the top 5, and that's what I did with Andrew Luck. It's like the reverse of the Tyreek Hill. I think he has the talent, but he's less proven. And so if he's in the top 5 for everyone, I'm going to push him outside the top 5 and hope I win that slight value game. And if I lose, I still get Antonio Brown or Odell Beckham. So yeah, I think I thought it just made more sense to make a bet on Andrew Luck because I knew he had that talent before he was injured when everyone else was making the opposite bet. If that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it completely does. And he was incredibly cheap for what he's going to be now. He might have been still priced for the top 10
too, by the way.
He was still priced at the top 10 price, but like at the very tail end of the top 10 price. I was getting him in auctions pretty cheap, and I'm reaping the rewards. Him and Aaron Rodgers, and I still have, like I said, Mahomes in my top 3, but Russell Wilson's still right there for me too, and I think you said his name. Those guys are all staples. I'm not worried. I worry about age less on quarterbacks than any other position, obviously.
Dennis, what do you think? I know the wheels are turning right there for you.
Well, I'd probably go Luck, Watson, Mahomes at 3, and Luck I think has the best all around talent. I mean, he's smart, good arm, and Ballard has done something really good by putting the best offensive line he's ever had around him. So I feel like he's finally getting the opportunity.
What a novel idea. Put really good players in front of your franchise quarterback. I mean, man.
It's amazing what happens. And so I feel like Luck is in the best position he's ever been in his career. He isn't taking a beating back there, and so he's able to play. And so Hilton's game is being raised as a result. Ebron is doing what Ebron does. And So now if they go out next year and they're able to bring in somebody of, the Tyreek Hill or Antonio Brown, get some young guy, that one of these wide receivers from the next class maybe, and can develop them and give Luck that kind of talent around him, that I think will keep him above the younger guys that have, Hopkins and Hill, who are two of the they're definitely better than Hilton, and so they provide better weapons. But I think Luck is the better quarterback, and so I would put him up there at 1.
I really like you mentioning Watson. I don't have him that high, but he's someone that you could definitely make the argument that I'm hearing feedback here, that I just made about Luck. It's a quarterback everyone's soured on, and even I have to admit he's come back this year, and while he hasn't been what he was last year, which was the whole point, he's been really good. I have to admit that. I thought he wouldn't be nearly as good as he has been. He has been really good. And so I think Watson up there is like making that Luck bet. That's a really good idea.
He might drop quickly if Houston doesn't do what Ballard did. If they don't restock their line, if they don't get some of that taken care of, then Watson's going to drop, a few spots pretty quickly. But as of right now, with Hopkins bringing in Thomas as another weapon, Kuti stepping up and playing well,
it's almost like some guys in the NFL don't know how to do their jobs, regardless of what they say.
About that,
players is hard or something like that. I mean, they're giving him weapons to throw to, except he gets the ball and he's on the ground. He's been sacked. I mean, it's almost like some NFL front office guys may not know what they're doing. It's kind of strange. I don't know. What do I know?
How dare the gumption, the gall. Gosh.
I mean, we're talking about something that's pretty interesting, because we can talk about how good a quarterback is, say Aaron Rodgers, but when you're not surrounding them with talent, and this is why I won't die on this hill, but this is why I will argue that Patrick Mahomes is my QB1 in Dynasty, is that he arguably has the top skill positions around him, and Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Sammy Watkins is your wide receiver 2, even though he can't stay on the field. And yeah.
Chris, you shut it right now. Shut it.
He plays about five snaps, catches a ball, and then stops playing for the rest of the game.
Listen, nothing will get you ejected faster from an open bar than Sammy Watkins slander. Y'all both shut it out.
But I mean, you have Kareem Hunt, you have Chris Conley as well, Demarcus Robinson as your wide receivers 3 and 4. So, and you have arguably one of the best offensive minds in the game in Andy Reid. I think that has to go into our arguments here, where okay, yeah, we can argue that Aaron Rodgers is the best QB in the league, but is he the dynasty wide receiver or dynasty QB1 with Mike McCarthy at the helm there? And that's why I'm arguing. I think that's why there's an argument to be made that Patrick Mahomes is QB1.
Well, I mean, I would just say that Aaron Rodgers has been that guy with Mike McCarthy for many years. So, I mean, and so many things can change. I mean, Andrew Luck survived Chuck Pagano. I mean, that's a feat in itself. What happens if Tyreek Hill leaves, let's say, and then God forbid Patrick Mahomes wide receiver 1 is Sammy Watkins, okay, and he's got Chris Conley on the other side, and let's say Andy Reid for some reason takes a leave of absence, pulls a Gary Kubiak on us. Can we just assume that everything stays the same when we've seen it stay the same over so long for guys like Luck and Rodgers who have survived coaching changes? And Luck has nothing. I mean, he's got Hilton and my next door neighbor running around.
I mean, nothing will get you kicked out of the open bar faster than T.Y. Hilton slander.
He did.
Take him over, J. Mike.
No, he's very good. But he's still one man. Ebron, talk about touchdown rate on Ebron, and then It's literally my next door neighbor. I think drove down to Indy and ran routes last week. Like he's
How
still
dare
pretty...
you hate on Jack Doyle this way, Sam?
What they call him, baby hands.
I do like Doyle. I did forget about Doyle.
Naheem Hines. There you go. He's actually really good.
Well, Naheem Hines is a good football player. I wish he would hold on to the football, but that's neither here nor there. But I mean, too many things can change from Mahomes that we still don't know quite yet. But he's, like I said, he's up there for me. He's just me, none of those guys.
It's a good argument. Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I think this goes back to Peter's argument about the consistency thing, where you have Antonio Brown, who's been doing this for years, Julio, who's been doing this for years, Rodgers been doing it for years, Russell Wilson's been doing it for years, with less than stellar supporting casts. But I think for me with Mahomes, it's you see a unique. I'm going to use such a buzzword here. You see unique arm talent, but you see he can throw the ball from all sorts of angles. He can throw it on the run. He can throw it 70 yards on the run, and I just think you see that talent along with the skill positions around him. So
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just unfortunately sometimes those throws on the run end in game-ending interceptions.
Yeah, it was tipped. Okay.
No, I mean it's all good. I mean, there's still just too much to worry about. Where, I mean, I'm so far back on the luck train, it's ridiculous.
Right.
He's even got a top running back in Marlon Mack. He's so good.
Running back, yeah, he is.
Mac,
he's a fine running back too. That was he's fine.
Yeah, that was now shout out to the chat. I haven't shouted them out all episode. They got you, Peter. They said you missed your moment there with Marlon Mack. You took the time to shout out T.Y. Hilton, Naheem Hines, and you just totally missed.
I was just letting someone else get that glory. It's not my fault. None of you could pick it up. I mean, I try to leave it open for you. There's also a point here I just want to point in that we've already spent way too much time talking about quarterbacks in fantasy football. It doesn't matter. Like the Mahomes season is fantastic. He's going to win championships, and it's rarely happens, right? That Cam Newton, that Patrick Mahomes, that random quarterback, not random, but that quarterback that just actually produces some fantasy numbers that actually make a difference, even in Superflex leagues, is fairly rare. So this top five, we can argue about it. I think it's more interesting to argue about it like I think it was Sam. Sorry, I've forgotten talking about situation versus talent is really interesting. But in terms of fantasy, I mean, it doesn't matter overly. You're not going to get this Mahomes season again, more than likely than not. And so he's not going to be a championship winner for you again. He's just going to be an epic. He's going to be great for you, like Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning and those type of quarterbacks are. But in fantasy, it matters fairly little. If we're talking about in terms of fantasy, this elite tier of quarterbacks doesn't matter overly. Don't you think? Or do we think that because the scoring is up this year so high, I mean, it's epically high, that this is a sign of things to come and quarterbacks are going to start mattering more than they have done in past years?
Yeah, and that's
have an idea on that.
Yeah, and I think that's an incredibly interesting point, Peter, is in this, and I'm looking at these numbers now. So from quarterback number 1 in points per game to quarterback number 16 in points per game.
Right.
And I'm primarily super flex, so like that tends to matter versus other leagues where it's one quarterback to some degree. But 1 to 16, Patrick Mahomes, 27.2 points per game. Tom Brady at number 16 at 17.6 points per game. So a little less than 10 points a game difference. And the next closest to Mahomes is Drew Brees, who's also just on a tear right now at 24 points per game. So he's 3 points better than Brees each week, or at least points per game wise, which is just insane. So like you're saying, if the league is trending in such a way where the rules keep favoring the offense as they do so heavily, and these points are astronomical, and what do they just have in the, what do they say with the ratings? Like, this is the highest rated Monday night game since
16.7 million.
Yeah, so like, and that has to have the NFL just like, how can we continue to favor things in this direction? So I don't see how we can't say that this isn't part of a trend now. Like you said, with Mahomes, maybe it's not. Maybe it doesn't look exactly like this in the future. But how can you not say that it's not trending in such a way that this is going to start being what we see? And like you said, maybe we spent too long with quarterbacks, but I found that interesting. Like I said, and right now, and this is really interesting as well. So quarterbacks 13 through 16 in points per game right now. Russell Wilson, number 13. Deshaun Watson, number 14. Carson Wentz, number 15. Tom Brady, number 16. Probably all guys that went. If you're having to start I'd imagine that they're all, I don't know, top 7-8 picks probably in terms of quarterback wise. I find that super, super interesting as well. Fellas, it's 10:58, and I would be remiss if I did not shout out the chat beforehand. If there's any other things that you guys in the chat want to talk about before we do head out, throw it out there in the chat.
Head out. We just got started. What are we?
We're hitting our stride.
We are not giving J Mike what he needs.
I told you guys I want to be respectful of your time, and if anybody's got to go, we can. But I'm up for hitting a few more topics before we go.
Yeah.
But
I'm here forever.
I love it.
Come to the pod, leave early.
Okay,
well, you're the one that called me out on being we'll call it a podcast whore. So just let's keep talking.
This is your takeover. Listen, when you were on Dynasty Trade Calculator the other day, I don't know if anyone was as giddy up for you as I was. Like, I was jazzed when I saw DTC, whatever the episode was, with Sam Lane. I said, OMG, I know that guy. He came on the pod. He's good people. Like, I was excited. So
I appreciate that.
Back, I'm thrilled. But Gunther was in the building. So shout out to Tyler, head honcho over at DHH. Spoonie's back. Bradley Harrison, what up? Yeah, Spoonie's good people. We had Jesse Reeves, who was on a couple weeks back. Jesse's the man. Appreciate you, Jesse. Who else came through? Sorry, I'm trying to scroll back through. It was Jesse and Tyler were going back and forth forever, which was a lot of fun. Aaron's back in the building. What up, Aaron? The man, Chris Allen, and shout out to Chris. And we had, for those that don't know, we had our Cincinnati fantasy football meetup, if you will, first annual. We'll say. What you say?
Peter didn't know.
Yeah. Peter hates us all. He didn't want to be with us. He's only a few hours away. Anyway, but shout out to Dwight Peebles for getting it together. And it was fantastic. But Chris was there. Svoboda was there. Obviously, Dennis was there, and we got to meet. And it was a great time. But that was kind of rabbit hole that I didn't necessarily have to go down. But golly, a bunch of great people. Cody Kutz was in the building. What up, Cole, man? And I think that is it. Yes. I shouted out everyone. Wonderful. What do we want to talk about before we go, fellas?
How about like wide receiver or running back?
Listen,
you started on wide receiver and I derailed it. So we could go back to that, or
I could not be less impressed with Traquan Smith, by the way.
Pardon me?
I know you hate him.
Pardon me?
J Mike hates Traquan Smith.
I did not know this.
Listen, Traquan, I watched just about every snap of that game. He feels very Jaggish to me, and I don't know.
Really?
Why.
Oh my god!
The epitome of Jag, Sammy Watkins.
He doesn't.
This is interesting.
Yeah, and here's the deal. So here's the deal. He's electric with the ball in his hands, and he separates. I like the way that he separates, which was fun to watch as well. But early in the game, I got some weird vibe, and maybe it was the fact that they keep throwing to guys that I don't know their names. So who is this tight end named Arnold, and who is this Kirkwood guy, and who is this guy that looks like he belongs on the extra set of, I don't know, The Good Doctor or something.
Nice.
Just a bunch of rando dudes. And I'm like, where is Traquan Smith right now? Like, I've been waiting for this drum beat that everyone's been beating. And he showed out in the second half. So I'm messing with y'all a little bit with the whole Jag comment. I wanted to get under.
No, you were trying to get a rise out of Peter,
and I got it, and I got it out of Chris too, because Chris went to slander. He went to slander Sammy Watkins again.
I threw the same first, and he got on
9-route Sammy Watkins. Yeah, that's the guy.
See, okay. See, I knew I could get you guys back with that one.
I'm fired up now. It's probably because he's not 100 like Anthony Miller.
Hey, listen, Anthony's balling right now. You can say what you want to. Anthony's balling too. But we can go wherever. We haven't hit running back at all. Let's run there for a second.
Bye, Penny.
Yeah, that's your boy. That's yours and Peter's. You guys carry the banner equally here. But no, besides
Peter
him,
have the banner. I'm lazy.
Besides him,
Rashad Penny sucks.
Besides him,
got the hat off.
But besides him reversing field in that game and getting that 30-yard run and then limping off afterwards,
hurting his foot after.
like why am I buying Penny right now?
All yours.
And listen.
Why do you intentionally try to hurt me, Jamie?
I think he's a fine. No. Listen, I think he's a fine player. I just feel like with what we know about Chris Carson and his role in Seattle, that Pete Carroll's going to give him the ball, and with what we know about the fact that PD Sunshine's going to do what PD Sunshine does, why am I buying Rashad Penny right now? Please help me understand.
I love this. This is my favorite. Go get it, Peter.
Listen, I don't think I can put the ball on a tee any better for you guys. Like, this is what I'm doing. And Peter, I don't know why you're stressing out right now. Like, this is your time. This is it. Home run right down the middle of the plate.
Rashad Penny sucks.
Oh my gosh.
Peter, I came here for this.
No, Rashad Penny's the best. Running back efficiency is a freaking myth. Let's start there. Running back that is consistently efficient. It's more about volume than anything else. So you're talking about a first-round pick who every time he's got opportunity has literally done great things with the football. He's behind Chris Carson, and Chris Carson's done wonderful things this season, but it's also about the volume. No, Chris Carson's done a lot more than I thought he would.
Peter, I'm not laughing at you. Listen, this is what Jesse just said in the chat.
You're laughing at me. That's all I heard.
You're about to get real upset. Jesse said. Jesse Reeves said, "I like Penny about as much as I like Gus Edwards."
All right, if you're gonna listen to someone that likes Gus Edwards, then yeah.
What is a Gus Edwards?
Good stuff, man.
Who is Brandon Powell?
Straight up for Penny.
Brandon Powell.
I think he's Lamar Miller's quarterback. I'm not sure.
Who's Brandon Powell? Is he a defensive player? Is he an IDP?
The deal is you're killing me. The deal is Penny's a great football player, and shockingly enough, when great football players play football, they do great things, and that's what we have seen from Rashad Penny. And unfortunately, he did hurt his foot, like you guys said, and he didn't get the full run. When he gets the ball, that job is going to be his. It's going to be over. They will have no choice.
I think this is an argument for the cream rises to the top, right? It's Katie from Under the Helmet likes to use that word. Talent's going to win out. She said the same thing with DJ. Not comparing Penny to DJ, but yeah, I think I agree. As much as Chris Carson, as good as Chris Carson has been, he can't stay healthy. And if Penny's given that chance, I think he takes over this job.
Chris Carson is great too. I don't want to slight him in any way. No. He's a really good player. But when you add in the fact that they spent the 20th, I think it was the 20th overall pick on this guy. I mean, that's not something you just do willy-nilly. And I know that's the kind of the Sony Michel argument too, who I'm not quite as big as a fan of. But I mean, first of all, it was a dumb pick for the NFL, but you can't just ignore it for fantasy reasons. The Sony Michel pick kind of felt like Belichick got his guy with his first round pick, and then the second one was kind of like maybe got someone he was a fan of. I don't know. But in terms of fantasy, you can't ignore the 20th overall pick and a guy who's, when he gets the ball, performs with it. It's just taking longer and may take a little bit longer, unfortunately. But just buy him now. He's going to be good. And the Seahawks, by the way, I wanted to point out, people were worried about them as a whole for rushing, and they're one of the top rushing teams this year. So stop worrying about that offensive line. If you were worried about that kind of thing, stop worrying about Tom Cable. He's not there anymore. You don't even have to worry about Pete Carroll or anything. They're going to run the ball. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, it's weird to be trying to make the argument for Rashad Penny when the argument against Rashad Penny, like a month ago, like 12 weeks ago exactly, and before that was Seahawks aren't going to be able to run the ball. And now it's they're running the ball so well they won't have to use Rashad Penny. I mean, the arguments not to like Rashad Penny have reversed from they can't run the ball to someone else is going to run the ball this well. He's proven he's a good player when he gets the ball. And therefore, when he gets the ball, he's going to do well. I mean, he's done nothing but substantiate what we were talking about in the offseason as him having a good college profile. And so if you know of a talented player that isn't valued as highly as he should be because he doesn't, at the moment, have opportunity, you just buy that player and wait for opportunity. I mean, yeah, seriously. That's why you buy him, J-Mike. We lost J-Mike. J-Mike is gone. We're on our own.
He's here.
Drinks are free, people.
He's at a huge discount right now. I don't know if you can get him for a second-round rookie pick, but it might be something close to the very late first-round range, which is just a pure discount. And I may even – it applies to just about anybody when it comes to opportunity. J-Mike, this one's for you. Maybe buy Ronald Jones on the cheap. I don't know.
I think Ronald Jones is the top buy right now for Dynasty, just because I think you could probably get him for a third. And he's
that's not happening. No. I've tried.
Have you? Well, but I mean, you're talking about a first round. He was picked. He went in the second round in the NFL draft. You're talking about a first round Dynasty rookie draft pick, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is kind of the same argument for Penny, is that his draft capital is just too much that he's going to get that chance.
The only difference, or the biggest difference and the realest difference, is when Ronald Jones has gotten the ball, he has not performed. But the opportunity really hasn't been there yet, and the discount is so steep from what it was that it might be worth taking a chance on. And I do not like Ronald Jones in the slightest. Everybody knows this, but it's to the point where the price delta is so different from what it was not even a year ago, 12 weeks ago, that it's worth taking that chance on.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Real quick, Rashad, and this can be just quick one word answers. In Dynasty, Rashad Penny, Philip Lindsay.
Penny. I think Penny is, when he gets the chance and gets in there, I think he's just going to be able to hold up better. I feel like Lindsay is, he's good, but I think he's going to end up being more of a satellite player. It might be unfair because of his size and sort of shallow analysis, but I think he's going to be good and he'll be explosive if he can stay healthy. But I like Penny long term better.
I think that's true. Both. I don't like one over the other. I mean, both. Why not both?
There you
go. Just take both. Yeah. Everyone devalues Lindsay because of that reason, and it might be a fair concern, but he's been great with a workload this year, and that's as much as you can say about a running back. He's getting usage and doing really well with it. That's as much as you can hope for with your running back. And Penny's undervalued, and so both of them can probably be gotten at a fairly reasonable price. I wouldn't I would try not to have to choose between one or the other. I think you get him in different enough spots at different enough value that you can have both.
And I think Lindsey has shown enough through 10 games now that he can hold up to double-digit carries every week. He plays a lot bigger than his size, but he doesn't back down. He always gets back up. I don't know if size in this context really matters, because he's proven that at least through 10 games that he can take the NFL beating.
And just to circle it back around to Tyreek Hill here, where if a player proves himself to be an outlier, you start judging him by outlier rules, right? Outliers are rare, but when they happen, you just have to acknowledge them. Tyreek Hill is an outlier in a number of ways. Touchdown rate isn't one. That'll come back to the norm. But just in terms of his college production to his NFL production alone, he's like the only player to have had this kind of disparity that I've ever seen. But he's done it. I just accept him as that outlier. And Lindsey is doing the same. He's proven himself to be an outlier. So I'm just going to accept him and judge him by outlier standards. So until he proves otherwise, he can sustain that workload. It's perfectly fair. I don't think Dennis is wrong here to have concerns about it. It's not shallow at all. I mean, it's reasonable. These are like tank versions of human beings charging into each other, and this guy's half the size of them. So, I mean, that's a perfectly reasonable concern. It's just, I think at this point, I'm just going to give him that credit. He's doing such an amazing job of as a running back in the NFL with a high workload. I'm just going to give him that outlier status and judge him on that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm here to take my big fat L on Lindsey. I did not expect this through 10 games after Royce Freeman went down. He's been very good. I do think Royce Freeman is good as well and will eat into some of that volume to maybe help in that sustainability for Lindsey, to where he doesn't have to eat the carries. And maybe if he gets shooken up, he can just, bow out for a little bit. He's a very good player, and I still like Royce Freeman as well. They could be a very, very good 1-2 punch, which kind of sucks for fantasy, but it is what it is.
Well, when they get rid of Devontae Booker?
Who?
Yeah. Ugh.
Well, my expectation on Lindsey has gone from I think he can be a little better Theo Riddick to I think he can be Devontae Freeman, which means he'll have a couple really good years, but it's not going to last very long.
Go for it, Peter.
Yeah, guys, sorry to interrupt because you're all making really good points about something that's interesting, so I just want to stop that right now. I just wanted to mention someone that isn't talking in the chat, but he definitely is watching because he's making fun of me on our Slack channel. It's Zeno Mascarilla. Sorry, dude. I never say your last name.
Big Z. Just call
he works for FS Statistics. He's one of the best data grinders you'll find. Like, people say I do good things on Twitter. Mostly it's based off Zeno just being fantastic with coding and data grabbing. I mean, he's the secret sauce. If you're not following him, you really go do that. He's watching and making fun of me on our Slack channel. He's just like the secret watcher. Since everyone else got shouted out in the chat, I thought I'd just mention him. That he is our secret watcher right now. I forget his Twitter handle. Does anyone know it offhand?
No.
I'm gonna say it, Zeno. You're not getting away from me this time. He goes so under the radar. The dude _Z is his Twitter handle, and he seriously, for some reason, he just likes being like this amazing data scientist behind the scenes, and never gets never puts his name out there as much as he should on Twitter. But if anyone's not following him, they really should. And yeah, he's watching us. He's watching us, guys. Just to let you all know.
Was he Big Brother or something?
Yeah. Seriously, man. You don't want to step out of line when Zeno's watching you. I might get him to comment if I keep going. That's what I'm trying for.
No, yeah. Good looking out, Chris. He's on Twitter at @thedude_Z.
Thanks, Chris.
What up, Zeno? What up? Very good.
You can go back to talking about fantasy football now.
one thing that made me very sad. Spoonie brought up the fact that when we brought up the comparison to Philip Lindsay, we brought up Devonta Freeman, and he said, "So he'll break down?" ?
Oh,
and it just makes my heart hurt because I love Devonta Freeman.
Philip Lindsay, that was my point. Yeah.
No, Philip Lindsay. He's he like you said, Svoboda. He's given a lot of L's out this year. He's given a whole lot of people L's. He's been.
Where is Freeman in value right now? Like, is he under Lindsay or under Penny?
Let me tell you
because
something.
like I'd have him above all of that.
You can probably buy Devonta Freeman for a pair of second-round picks.
Yep.
Whoa.
That's probably fair, and I would love to do it. I would love to do it ASAP.
Not on my team, J Mike.
But no, I think that's a fair point. Like a lot of these guys, and this is another one of those really interesting things to kind of bring everything full circle. When we talk about things that we're doing right now, when we're getting ready for our playoff runs in Dynasty, maybe not even for our playoff runs, but also for the teams that maybe aren't contending right now. Can you take some of these picks and start getting some of these guys who are hurt and forgotten about and not necessarily thought of?
I hope so.
Your Hunter Henrys, your Devonta Freemans, Delaney Walker, Darius Geis. All these guys, all these types of players that maybe took a slight hit in value. You know, Darius Geis is going for the 102. Can you get Darius Geis in this upcoming draft for 108? Something of that nature.
Has his value dropped?
Yeah, I don't know about Darius Geis.
He's been one of those that's been pretty stagnant because nobody expects Adrian Peterson to be there after this year. They basically expect a clean slate, almost like a clean start for him next year.
And that's fair, but let's look. And this is one of the things that I forgot who we had on when we talked about the value, but what could happen over the next year. So what we've seen since Darius Geis has continued to be the 102, we've seen Kerryon Johnson be really freaking good. We've watched Philip Lindsay be really freaking good. All these guys that just went, Nick Chubb, for example, all these guys that are getting their opportunity and being really good. And I'm not saying don't take, like, obviously Darius Geis is awesome, and I think he'll come back and be great. What I'm saying is, in terms of perception, we've watched a lot of these guys take these huge value spikes, and so maybe Geis hasn't necessarily had the hit in value that maybe even I perceive, but still, if we're doing that draft over again right now, I'm not sure that everyone who was taking Geis at 102 is still taking him at 102. I guess that's my greater point.
No, like a rookie pick or like a 2018 redraft or whatever, he might not be top 8 at this point. But as far as like rookie pick value in a trade, if you still have, it'll still take an early first at least to get Darius Geis.
Probably fair. My greater point still being let's not forget about these guys and let's go get those guys who are
that's a strategy to employ all year round. Really, as soon as guys go on IR, I send offers immediately almost. People get frustrated or whatever the reason may be, and maybe they see a player or someone that they think they can help them now, and then you get a player to stash on your injured reserve and free profit for next year, essentially.
Oh, Jerick McKinnon shout out by Aaron.
Yeah.
Oh, I have so much of Jerick McKinnon. If I didn't have it all before, I do now.
Very good. Dion Kane.
J Mike.
Say what? Oh yeah.
I tried.
I have to.
I tried.
Oh, Peter, you better back down off of that.
Penny over Chubb. You know what? Nope.
I love you, but that's wrong.
I love you too, Sam, and it's not wrong.
I think you got us mixed up there, Svoboda.
No, I was just talking to you.
Okay, fine.
Sorry, Chris. Yeah, I got you mixed up.
No, it's okay. No, but I love Penny, but I love Chubb more.
Chubb gives me a chub.
Oh, hello. Oh yes, I'm so glad you brought that up, Sam.
What? Whoa! I don't like that transition.
J Mike is really interested in. Okay,
no.
Hey man, it's all love.
This is our designated commercial for Cialis.
Or what's that one? The new one's Hims.
Yeah, for Hims. No,
Yep.
and they're not sponsors. No, I'm not shouting them out anymore. Nobody's paid us one dime. no other shout outs.
Oh, Snoop.
Don't meet me there. Beat me there. So obviously, Gabe, if you guys haven't seen, go check out my main man Gabe's Twitter handle, again at FFManBun on Twitter. We've got the official first T-shirt of the open bar. It's the Wubba Lubba Chub Chub T-shirts, which originated on the open bar. If you have not seen those, please go check that out on Gabe's page. They're hilarious to look at, and obviously it goes to a wonderful cause, which is to help us continue to do what we do here at the open bar. So that is the wonderful cause. What go for it, Sam?
The way you introduced that, it was just like the wonderful cause, and it got all serious, and then of letting us continue to talk to you on the internet.
Look, this is serious business, okay? This is not a game. This is not a game.
I need to get me one of those, and then there's a Patrick Mahomes one out there that I really need to get as well.
There's a lot of good ones, but yeah, the Wubba Lubba Chub Chub. That being said, this is the last question we'll get in before we do our outros. And this was a question brought up earlier in the chat. I think it was Jesse. I can't remember. But who do you guys see as the best rookie wide receiver?
Wait, that's a pretty vague question.
You can answer it however you want to. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was Chris. Let me give you the correct credit here. Chris Allen, the man himself, the legend. He said, honestly, though, who's the best rookie wide receiver right now? That's what he said.
And has it changed for you based on this season? That's what I'd be interested in.
No, my 1 and 2 are still the same. I'm the biggest Anthony Miller fan on the planet, or one of. Shout out to Riley Bymaster as one of the others as well. I don't know what you just said, Peter, but if it was slanderous,
he said, "Of course you are," and I know where he's going to go with this.
Yeah. I listened to all of Peter's hate in the offseason about Anthony Miller and how old he is, and it's unprecedented. I'm not letting him win on this parade.
Stoking
but
on
DJ,
the fire. Maybe less than DJ Moore. That was just hate.
Yeah. DJ Moore was my 1 and Anthony Miller's 2, and nothing's changed that. But go ahead, everyone else. No one cares about my opinion.
DJ Moore is still my 1, but Christian Kirk is my 2.
I thought Ridley was the best coming out. I didn't really have a 2. There was all mixed. I just really liked Ridley coming out because of his route running.
I was on Cortland Sutton. I'm team big wide receiver. I think he's got the makeup to unfortunately he also I think has the worst quarterback situation. So, he's got some opportunity in front of him. They traded away Thomas, so I think he's been able to take advantage of his situation, and I'm still Team Sutton.
How dare you slander Minnesota Miracle legend Case Keenum? I can't believe you.
Listen, I'm a Broncos fan. I will slander the hell out of Case Keenum.
Peter, who's your 1-2?
I was actually just looking it up, so I didn't get any of it wrong.
And has it changed? That was Chris's follow-up too. Has anybody's changed?
Mine's changed a little bit, only in that I no longer. I now say that you can value Calvin Ridley. I think that's
another one. I think was another one that you hated.
That's a big change for me. I actually can't find it. I've got it on a sheet that you can. Oh, here it is. 2008 wide receiver class models. I had it ranked DJ Moore, Christian Kirk, Michael Gallup, James Washington, Calvin Ridley, and then Traquan Smith.
Oh my gosh!
Before the season, directly after the draft. I still have DJ Moore as my 1 and Christian Kirk as my 2. I'll now accept that Calvin Ridley can be moved up to 3 and Traquan Smith can be moved up to 4. But I'm pretty steadfast that James Washington is a really interesting wide receiver.
I love
that people should be interested in.
Yeah, I've been grabbing Washington from on teams that I have that suck. He's been the guy, one of the guys I've been aiming for.
You giving up a second for Washington?
Yes, all day. Take all my seconds.
All the seconds, yeah.
Seriously, do you have him anywhere?
On all my teams, fella.
I like it.
No, Cortland Sutton is probably the one that I'm still lower on than everyone else. Anthony Miller, I'd move him I'd move him into that group I just mentioned as well. He's been consistently targeted, earning opportunity. He's got the Calvin Ridley problem. He can't be the one in that offense, in my opinion. It's a little not as bad as Calvin Ridley's Julio Jones problem, but it's still an issue for me. I have issues. This much is clear. But Cortland Sutton, I'm still like I had him. I just looked it up, so I can tell you exactly. It's not like I clicked it off. And as my 7th wide receiver, like I say, while the others like Anthony Miller have moved above him now, so he stayed pretty stable. But they literally traded away Demaryius Thomas, who's had the most consistent and one of the largest target shares of any wide receiver over the last 5 years, and his targets continue to drop because of the great Jeff Heumann. That I need an answer for that before I can, feel anything like comfortable.
How is that said again? How did you say that?
Heumann.
That's how I say it. I don't know if it's right.
I don't know either. I really don't.
It's Jeff Hireman.
Our man?
Hireman. Hard man, yes.
I'm going to keep saying it my way, but that's cool.
That was very entertaining. I enjoyed that.
But the answer to that is Broncos offensive coordinator.
Yeah, you see, I'm not sure. When we're making excuses for wide receivers not earning targets because of coaching, I start to get a little itchy. I think what people like about Cortland Sutton is he had decent college production, even based on market share. He was drafted highly enough, but I think his size is what keeps drawing people's eye, and that's not a good reason to value a wide receiver who it's his rookie season, so yeah. I'm not going to drop him too much. But he's the wide receiver in this class that people were excited about, that I was a little lower on, that I maybe have soured on more, and I just thought I'd mention that.
I think his situation is probably, it's not as bad as like Michael Gallup, but is probably far worse than a lot of your top guys. And he had issues with his hands coming out. He wasn't great at like catching the ball with his hands.
Do wide receivers need that though, really?
When you're thought to be like more of a 50-50 guy, 50-50 ball guy, yes.
Again, that's another one of those narratives. Sorry, carry on. I hate these stuff right now. I love it. I hate these things.
Yeah. Stomp on all this
contest
stuff.
Josh Doxson.
It's
so big. I need to see him do something.
I agree.
That isn't, getting beaten for opportunity by Jeff Hireman.
There you go.
Good job.
I learn.
Sometimes.
I do think Cortland's a good player, but we kind of have to, at some point, separate the fact that talent doesn't always equal fantasy points. Yeah. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a film stan or anything like that. But at some point, I can see a good player, but I'm not going to say, like, if he's not scoring fantasy points, I don't want him. You know what I mean?
No, but I will say that I think the best way we can evaluate who's talented in their situation, to be fair, is earning opportunity. If you're getting open, then you're getting to get more targets. If you're pressing your quarterback or just catching the ball well, then you get more opportunity. And so I think targets, just literally targets, especially for a rookie. And like I say, it's a rookie season. He'd do nothing and his value shouldn't drop too fair, to be perfectly fair. But in a class where the others have done great things, Cortland Sutton was doing well early. He was getting more opportunity, but it keeps falling off. And I'm wondering if that's because they were giving him opportunity because he was their new guy and they wanted him to succeed. And now it's fading slightly because he continues to not perform on it. And that might be an early warning sign. That's all I'm saying.
It's very fair at this point. And I do want to acknowledge that his situation is absolute crap. It is. But that's all fair stuff. Case Keenum isn't good, guys.
Well, Sutton's targets have went up each of the last 4 weeks. I mean, they haven't been over 6, but that's his season high.
Yeah, Jeff Hyman's one that's been increasing in opportunity, though. And
he's saying it based on market share, basically, that right. Jeff Hyman's target share has gone up while Cortland Sutton's targets may have, but not his target share.
And also air yards. When you weigh the two together with airyards.com, that thing called Whopper, weighted opportunity rating, that's what I've been tracking for my target share article. And his has been dropping. Even before the Demaryius Thomas trade, he was actually losing a little bit of opportunity. So, yeah, it's all small sample, like just said. And like you're saying, last week he actually had one more target than Jeff Hyman. So maybe that's a positive sign that he finally had more targets in the last 4 games than Jeff Hyman. But it just sticks out to me a little bit.
And I do want to say we like Cortland Sutton, or at least I do, and I have him in a couple places. And if he's cheap, go buy him.
Yeah, he'd be the one I wouldn't buy. Is the thing, just because he's the one with the warning sign on. But
that I know that's Gabe's guy, so I'd be remiss if I didn't at least bring that up right now.
That's I take Gabe. It all back.
I'm a Gabe.
No, seriously, forget it.
Oh no, not Daddy! Don't.
Yeah. When Papa hears this episode, you guys are screwed.
Shout out to Gabe and
I take it all back. Forget it. No, seriously, I'm gonna rewrite my target article now. But seriously, not going against Gabe.
We all right, boys. We got to call it one. Got to call it a night. What a fantastic episode. What a fantastic conversation. I don't want this to end. It's kind of a bummer, but sadly we've got to. So we'll go left to right, right to left. We'll go left to right. No, just kidding. We're going right to left. Sam Lane, where can we find you? What do you want to plug? Let us know the goods.
You can find me everywhere, apparently.
Omnipresent. That's a fact. Omni podcaster.
I'm at FF Stompy on Twitter, writing a weekly article, start-sit article for the Fantasy Authority at FF_Authority and thefantasyauthority.com. And then I also do a bunch of weekly stuff for the IDP guys. That's at IDP guys and at IDPguys.org. And then, like J. Mike was mentioning, I am trying to be on every podcast possible. So if you have a podcast, hit me up. I'll probably join and talk about stuff or pretend to talk about stuff.
And Sam's fantastic. And I don't say that because I like you, Sam. I say that because it's a fact. I've been able to catch a couple of your spots. And like I said, you acquitted yourself very well on the specifically Dynasty Trade Calculator. So keep it up, man. It's very good stuff.
Appreciate that, J. Mike.
Howdy. Tea and crumpets, fish and chips. Let's get it.
Yeah, hello. What's up?
Where can the good people of this who are listening to this podcast find you?
Yeah, I got it, Jake. I was
You're a
playing
turd.
a joke.
Such a turd.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm on Twitter at PA Howdy. I do a podcast, if you can believe it, with Jake Anderson at Jake Anderson FF on Twitter, called Dynasty Crossroads. We're part of the DLF family of podcasts, and I write for DLF and do the weekly and yearly projections for playerprofiler.com. You can find me mostly on Twitter. Always, actually, that's probably where you should go and find me. And just to reiterate, my main skill is being loud and talking for long enough that everyone forgets what the point is. So basically just listen to what everyone else said in this, because because these guys all know what they're talking about. Just in case I persuaded anyone I knew something they didn't, I was lying. I don't. It's really great to see you guys again. Thanks for having me on, J Mike, despite the fact I continually underperform, as we always know. And yeah, thanks, guys.
It was great to see your pretty face for the first time.
Well, thank you.
You underpromise and overdeliver every time, Peter. Every stinking time.
I'm the Rashad Penny of podcast guests.
And mute. All right. The culture coach himself, Dennis. What's the good word?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at culture_coach. I'm on the Fantasy Life app at Panhandles. I write for the Fantasy Life app blog, a weekly column called Down in Dynasty. It comes out usually on Tuesdays. Some analysis, some stories about leagues that I'm in, and just different things that happen. New one came out today. I'm on 12 Ounce Sports Radio Thursdays and Sundays at 12:30, talking a little bit about Dynasty. On Sundays, I do Champs and Chumps, guys you should start, guys you should sit. You probably have more success if you switch them around. If I tell you they're a champ, you might want to sit them. If they're a chump, you might want to start them. At least that's the way it feels some weeks. That's about me.
That's what's up. Apparently, Dennis is everywhere, and I had the great pleasure of meeting Dennis this last weekend. Great people. Very, very, very encouraged by you, Dennis. I can't shout out the Cincinnati meetup enough. That was next level great. Yeah, Peter. Peter, did you have a good time, Peter?
It'd be really nice to be invited to it next time. Since it
was is that how that went? You weren't invited? Okay. I'll let Dwight know that you weren't invited. He's going to be real thrilled when he hears this.
Yeah, he basically came and had a party in my backyard, and then it's not that I don't understand why you wouldn't want me there. I'd just rather be there anyway.
That's the worst.
Drive up to we'll hang out.
The worst.
I'd like to be the only one there defending Julio Jones, since you all hate him.
When did we hate Julio Jones?
It doesn't matter. Peter's muted now. You're muted, Peter. No. Svoboda. No, no. Peter was fully invited. I will not let his lies stand any longer. He was supposed to be there, turd. Svoboda, go for it.
Go for what?
You know what? I'm just going to end the podcast.
I mean, all these guys have tons of stuff, and I don't have stuff. I'm on the Twitter all the time at the Swoboda DHH. I don't have all kinds of columns and podcasts and things of that sort. I spend a lot of time hanging with my dad, but I enjoy talking with you guys. It's always fun to talk football with smart people, much smarter than me. And again, yeah, the Cincinnati meetup, great stuff.
And that's what it was. Absolutely fantastic, positively great stuff. Peter's the worst. So to everyone that joined us on YouTube, appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for showing out with us. We are incredibly grateful for it. Like I said, I know my better half is away, and he's a much better closer and opener of the show, as well as just everything at life better than me. But I'm glad that I can hold up the banner while he's away. Again, on Twitter, you can find him at FFManBun. You can find the show's handle on Twitter at The Open Bar FP, as in Fake Pigskin. You can find me on Twitter at JMikeCheck, at JMICCheck. I forgot my handle for a second. What is it again?
Who am I?
Yeah. And I really feel like that's it. To everyone, like I said, that was in the chat, appreciate you guys. To our guests, incredibly humbled that you joined me this evening. So thank you guys for joining, as well as everyone who's going to listen to this in podcast form. So whether that's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Podbean, and all those other places. And yes, even on Spotify. You can catch the Open Bar on Spotify. So yes, holla at us there as well. Give us a shout out on Twitter. Show us some love. whether it be through ratings and reviews, or even just saying that you enjoy listening to the show. So we appreciate you guys. Check out that Wubba Lubba Chub Chub t-shirt. Wubba Lubba Chub Chub. Gabe wouldn't let me get away with not saying it that way. And yeah, we'll be back next week with the new group. And I don't know if Gabe will be back or not, but regardless, we'll have a lot of fun here at the bar. As usual, everyone, drinks up, whatever it may be, water all the way to mead, autumnal mead, as they say in the Bud Light commercials. Until next time, again, appreciate you guys. In the words of my main man, Gabe, deuces.